Okay, here we enter the second round of play, and started green's turn. I had to roll 5 times to get this cube on the play, because the board's getting filled up. There's more ships in there. There's damaged ships too. With the unoccupied space, the way that's handled, well, this obviously it's not going to appear on top of these wrecked ships. So now what's green up to? Well, they're in the middle of a kind of a war with red. They can probably remain kind of peaceful with green. They got a lot of money. They got a decent roll. They also have a lot of harvesters on the board, so they pulled in 16 bucks. But they also have a lot of damage on a number of their ships that they'd have to pay off, or just say, hey, I'm going to lose these ships. They might want to do that with these most damaged ships, the bandits there. And $3 each to repair them when they only cost 4 to build seems a little extreme to me. Definitely want to get some more production into play, since I've got another one that I can definitely reach. Alright, let's see what we get. Picked up a mix of ships. First a harvester, which I could send here. 1 fighter, which I'm sending after the red scavenger to knock it out of space so that that flag doesn't go. There's no real reason for that, except I wanted to build that ship and I didn't want to attack someone else. I'm keeping $4 in reserve so I can shoot these 2 F-15s or whatever, F-13s. And then I repaired damage to a couple of these harvesters, but not all of them, because, I don't know, just the way the costs worked out, that worked well. But I am going to use my special card to launch an attack to try to clear out those extra ships. These 2. Maybe not the best move in the world, because, well, see, this has to be used against 2 targets, so it can't be used to focus firepower on the mothership to finish it off. You don't really want to weaken a mothership tremendously, because then this is kind of like Naval War, the old Avalon Hill game, in the sense that someone else might pick it off for the values, especially if it's got flags on board, because then they get those flags. Okay, and in the end, after the battle, you can see red has been badly hurt. Their 2 fighters have been knocked out of play. This thing's taken 3 hits. You can see how annoying this hit tracking system gets with all these cubes on it. It's going to especially, you know, that's why they have the different denominations. Once you get to large numbers, though, you might end up with a decent number of cubes on a ship, which is annoying. But it kind of blurs the specialness of the white cubes. And then we got something even worse. See this die here? That's to denote that that was captured. So my thinking was, hey, if you don't have enough ships for something, you probably can't capture it. But I look it up in the rules, and it's actually specified here more clearly than I expected. The captured ship is removed from the board and replaced by the same type of ship. If there's no ships available in his color, he may improvise a way to denote that this ship has been captured. Yeah, what's that supposed to mean? Okay? Now, I've improvised a way, and this is what I think they mean, but here's the problem. 1, this ship is no longer in red's pool, so the fact that I was out of ships means that I've taken the capacity for red to build more ships away from them. This isn't a destroyed ship that someone can salvage and take away. It changes the nature just based on the fact that I was out of ships of red's force pool. Let's go further than that. Improvise away doesn't indicate that this necessarily stays on the board. Improvise away could mean that I build a little ship model and throw it in there, or I write up another card as though I have another ship in my force pool. That brings a whole question. Are you limited by your force pool? I want to assume so. Yeah, he cannot purchase more, but he can capture them beyond the maximum. So, there's one of 2 things in play here. Either you could end up with ships that are outside of your force pool, in which case, well, no matter what you can. In which case, hey, what if one of my other harvesters gets wrecked? Does this one have to stay on the board? Once you start making rules a little bit more complicated like this, once you try to represent something more, the rules require more than is given in this booklet. They require more discipline, they require more playtesting, more spelling things out. And I think here it's a failure. It's something that you can house rule, but you may or may not be playing. This, you get the feeling this game was designed with this careful crafting idea behind it, rather than some kind of, and the designers very clearly state that they did not aim for even a Twilight Imperium type of game in terms of richness. They're aiming for something more limited, more of a simplified thought exercise when it comes down to it. There's luck, there's fun in it, but once you start throwing some monkey wrenches in, that breaks down. You can't really have it both ways, right? You can't try to simulate too much and still maintain that clean little light set of rules that the game has. Alright, enough ranting there, and we'll move on to the red player. On red's turn, although flags are the goal of the game and I had one on board, I chose not to drop it off, instead sliding up here, grabbing both these wreckage to get a couple extra bucks. I need cash badly. Built another harvester, which I slipped in over here, flying it over the scavenger after it moved. Threw a fighter over here, which missed this bandit or raider or whatever. And also did a quick fire from, paid for a fire from the mothership to destroy one of the opponent's fighters. Well, his only fighter, I think. Just in order to take that threat away from my harvesters. They're more likely to actually hit something than these bandits. But, well. So, the big decision there, though, was this move through the cloud to get a couple extra bucks, which bought me an extra harvester, essentially. The one that's here, which allowed this one to move there first. Pulling in a little bit more cash. Now, harvesters do produce money when they're not in the clouds, but that double money is very valuable unless there's some tremendous tactical reason for having the harvesters not in the cloud, or you're out of clouds. Anyway, the other option rather would have been to slide up to the mothership, drop the flag over here, and then fly towards this flag, which, you know, if it were late in the game, probably would be worth it if I already had most of my flags, if that was my stab towards winning. But in this case, all it's going to do is make me more of a target to have more flags. Blue got a bad roll for money, I think just $1. They sent their salvager over here to grab this cube. Now this is important to their whole situation. That allowed them to pull one of their harvesters kind of out of the line over here, because it's got some damage on it. This guy's got damage, this guy's got damage. They built a new harvester, which they put here. Their attack ships, they swarmed over here, and they attacked, well, they built a big attack ship. Those are just too similar to the smaller ones. I find that very difficult to see, especially once there's some cubes on them. I don't know what general shape would work better, because there's a big difference between the shapes in all the ships. But yeah, anyway, ganging up on this one, well, the big guy missed. He got deflected completely. Managed to knock out, what is this, a salvager or a harvester or whatever. And then this was a salvager, which these two ganged up on to knock out. So they've stripped away a lot of yellow's power. Now, yellow has almost no production either. They only have one harvester. So they don't have a lot of money coming in. And that, again, is the advantage of going before someone. Blue got a first strike in the first game. Because these guys don't block movement, you can just fly through an enemy ship as far as I can see. They had to destroy the salvager to prevent this flag from being taken. Now the mothership could send somebody over, but that guy would then still be there. The other guy could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4 and flown away and be in a position where next turn he could bring that flag into play. There's a cheaper flag for the yellow player to pick up if he really wants to get one. I don't think grabbing flags is terribly valuable at this point. Just as I said, you've got to win the battles. You've got to get your fleet built up early in the game, it seems like. Yellow was living on very little, $6 off their total production with just a couple of these harvesters on the board. This one was built the $2 out of that 6. And also no cards left. They played all their cards in the first game, in the first turn. But what's kind of neat for them is they still had a large military force, which they just shifted over, wrecked a couple of those blue fighters, taking those out of their hands. Now, they're not taking blue's production away, which is a real problem, because blue's going to be pulling 6 in, 8 in next turn, assuming nobody else shoots them up. They had some thoughts of attacking production, this ship, for example, hitting here, but they were able to knock out fighters, which to them was perhaps more valuable. But when you think about it, a production unit is half of one of those fighters. And there's still the big fighter, and there's still a couple little ones. I think yellow's doomed here, unless somebody else jumps in on their side for some reason. But red and green probably are not in a position where either one's going to intervene in someone else's war. Here's what's kind of interesting. The game very quickly seems to devolve into a position where you're wiping someone out. It just seems like that's strongly to your advantage in terms of claiming territory. Now, obviously, if you could sit back and just build yourself up and build your economic position up, that would be a nice position. So say in a 3-player game, you may well see 2 people go at it and one person kind of, yeah, I'm okay over here, don't worry about me. But given that the game really is only configured at 2, 3, or 4, well, 2 players, they're going to be fighting right away. 4 players, I think it's going to naturally devolve into these 2-on-2s, although it is possible for there to be some weird kind of circular war going on, perhaps. I thought it was going to go that way early on. But I don't think there's much opportunity for peace in this game. I don't think that's to anyone's great advantage. If you can get that first strike in, it seems too valuable. We see green and blue are the people who are winning here. They're the ones who got to go first in that first turn and got to commit violence. And there doesn't seem to be a balancing factor to that. Alright, I'm going to load this one up, and the next, the third turn or whatever is going to, I'm going to try to take it at even a higher level of abstraction and just kind of report back on the big moves of the thing, rather than here I'm still kind of focusing on the building of the ships, which is maybe what has to be done for this game, because I think a lot of it has to do with the tactical positioning of your ships. But I don't know much about that yet. I think that's something that develops over many, many plays.